Again, Big U, his son, Baby Huey, or Big Huey, right? He was assassinated last night on Halloween out there in LA.
The streets of LA erupted in shock after Big U's son, Jabari Baby Henley, was tragically killed on Halloween night. But what happened next pushed the situation to a whole different level. People connected to NSBE jumped online almost immediately, mocking Big U's pain like it was some kind of twisted joke. And that's when the city realized something deeper was unfolding. This wasn't just street talk anymore. Something bigger was brewing. The tension was real. The anger was raw. Everyone could feel the fire rising. Halloween night in South Central should have just been candy, kids, and neighborhood block parties winding down. But instead, the air turned heavy. From Crenshaw to Compton, the news spread fast, shaking every corner of the city and sending shockwaves through the entire hip-hop community. This wasn't just another tragedy in the streets. It hit differently. It cut deep, bringing to the surface years of buried pain and old grudges that were never truly put to rest.
And I want to talk about, Big U. His son was assassinated last night out there in LA. Absolutely nasty work, man. Again, Big U, his son, Baby Huey, or Big Huey, right? He was assassinated last night on Halloween out there in LA.
Ever since 2019, the culture has been carrying silent tension, and this loss brought it all right back to the surface. People started pointing fingers, old beefs were dragged out, and social media turned into a digital war zone overnight. The comments, the live streams, the posts, it was chaos. The streets weren't just talking, they were erupting with emotion. Every tweet, every reaction, every whisper made the situation 10 times worse. This wasn't just another night in LA. This was the beginning of something that would shake the city to its core. It was around 11:11 p.m. on Halloween night, October 31st, 2025, when the LAPD's 77th Street Division got a call that would ignite the whole city. Reports came in of shots fired near South Figueroa Street and West 69th Street, right in the heart of South LA. What happened there would quickly become one of the most talked about moments of the entire year. And if you know anything about South Central, then you already know. Vermont and Slauson has always been one of the hottest blocks in the city.
I mean, it is what it is as far as this is how the streets go. But Baby Huey, I ain't gonna hold you. Solid dude. Like, as young as he was, if you actually met him, he actually seemed way older. Kel was solid, like straight, solid dude. Now some of y'all be, well, he was in the street. He didn't operate like that. He wasn't operating out here like no goofy. Let me just flat out put that out there.
Those blocks have been active for decades, where tension between different sets never really dies down. The scene of it all was a small smoke shop called Fig and 69 Smoke Spot, tucked between liquor stores, auto shops, and empty lots, territory long associated with the rolling 60s neighborhood Crips, who've held down that section of LA for years. Word on the street says the shop itself wasn't tied to any crew. It just happened to be sitting right in the middle of that zone. But what happened next? It felt like something straight out of a movie. Except this wasn't Hollywood. This was real life, and it got serious fast. Witnesses said they saw everything. Two people had just stepped out of the shop, and a nearby food truck vendor watched it unfold from a few feet away. They all described a dark-colored sedan, maybe a Toyota Camry or a Honda Accord, pulling up to the curb, smooth and quiet. Jabari Henley, standing at around 6'1" and 210 pounds, walked up from the sidewalk like he recognized the people inside. He leaned in toward the passenger window, started talking, and in that moment, everything shifted. What happened next went down in seconds. Quick, precise, and cold. The kind of move that made one thing unmistakably clear. This wasn't random. This wasn't a robbery gone wrong. This was intentional.
Homie, they killed $1,000.
Before anyone could react, lit up with that sharp, echoing pop-pop, sending everyone dropping to the ground in pure panic. The scene precision. They recovered at least 7 shell casings. Likely, whoever pulled up knew exactly what they were doing. Jabari, the stomach, and he also took rounds to his arm and thigh. He collapsed right by the entrance on Figueroa, cut hard on dark LA night like it was fast. Within minutes, paramedics and fire arrived about They found you gasping for air body makes when it refuses to give up and hesitate. Chest compressions, everything they had at keeping him alive. Like time itself stopped. But by 11:28 p.m., just 14 minutes after they arrived, the scene fell heartbreaking. Came out the next day, November 2025, too. The wounds with massive internal bleeding and a torn artery in his chest. When the toxicology report dropped drugs, nothing that would have had him slipping. The ruling was clear, final, undeniable.
When Nipsey died, right? When Nipsey got killed, we probably had about 300, 375, 400 kids that was in our program. And I had the travel basketball team. We had a contract with Adidas that was worth about $3 million that Kanye West gave us.
Wow.
And then I had like a bunch of other big contracts. And for a nonprofit, we were really thriving. Then Nipsey gets killed. Well, after Nipsey get killed, then the rumor goes out, Big U had something to do. Ooh. We lost everything.
You lost all those?
And when I tell you everything,
Wow.
Kanye stopped answering the phone. Adidas stopped answering the phone. And I ended up almost going dead broke because we already committed to this.
Homicide, straight up, heartbreaking. But before anyone could even process the loss, the questions began. Who was Jabari Baby W. Henley really? Because to understand the chaos his passing unleashed, you first have to understand the man behind the name. Born March 15, 1991 in Inglewood, California, Jabari wasn't chasing the spotlight like his father, Eugene Big U Henley. He moved differently. He kept things low-key, stayed focused on real life, and still showed love to the culture that raised him. He did touch music, though. Jabari dropped a few tracks under the name Baby W, including a 2019 joint called Hood, featuring hood-rich Pablo Juan, produced by Kenny Beats. The track racked up over 150,000 streams on Spotify. His sound was raw, honest, about loyalty, survival, and staying true to your roots. And those lyrics hit even harder now, knowing how his story ends. But rap wasn't his main grind. People close to him said Jabari was putting in real work as a warehouse supervisor at a logistics company in Compton. He was focused on building something solid, taking care of his 10-year-old daughter, just making life happen the right way. His circle described him as solid, humble, and about his business. The kind of man who didn't need to talk loud. His actions spoke for him. Jabari wasn't trying to live that street life. People close to him said he stayed out of the way. That's hood talk for keeping your head down, minding your business, and not letting drama follow you just because your last name holds weight. And that matters, because Jabari represented something a lot of young brothers in South LA are fighting for today. Staying true to where you come from while still choosing a better path. No gangs, no beef, no cycles repeating themselves. Everyone who knew him said the same thing. Humble, respectful, grounded, focused. He wasn't chasing fame. He wasn't looking for chaos. He was building something real for himself and his people. Jabari leaves behind 3 siblings, each making their own mark. Dion Henley, 28, starting linebacker for the LA Chargers, posted on Instagram November 1st. My heart is shattered. Rest easy, bro. We got the fam. Michael Henley, 32, runs a barbershop in Hawthorne. Shiny Henley, 30, a nurse in Long Beach. The whole family was moving forward, building, elevating, each one carving out success in their own way. But here's where it hits even harder. The moment Jabari's father, Eugene "Big U" Henley, got the news, the man who mentored rappers, built community programs, and once held major influence in LA street politics, learned about his son's death while sitting behind bars in the Metropolitan Detention Center, downtown Los Angeles. At 58 years old, Big U had been locked up with no bail since March 2025, facing a 43-count federal RICO indictment. The weight of that case alone was enormous, but hearing his son was gone while sitting in a cell? That's the kind of pain that cracks even the strongest soul. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the Central District of California accused Big U of running a structured network tied to the rolling 60s neighborhood Crips, alleging everything from extortion to trafficking to bank fraud. They even claimed he ordered a hit on a rapper in Vegas. The narrative painted him like some kind of criminal mastermind. But none of that compared to how he found out his son was gone. It showed just how cold the system can be. Around 1:30 a.m. November 1st, word reached him. His co-defendant, Loose Cannon, a music executive caught up in the same RICO case, received a message through a contraband phone from someone on the outside. In the dark, during lights out, Cannon had to whisper the news to Big U. You can only imagine that moment. Cannon later described it to TMZ and Hot New Hip Hop. Big U just froze, silent at first, then the tears came. Fist clenched, he finally whispered, "Not my boy, not like this." That mind hit the world hard. It was the sound of a father breaking, trapped behind steel and concrete, unable to even hold his son one last time. Cannon said the entire unit felt it that night. "We were both shattered. Heartbroken doesn't cover it. We'll work through this together. Even in here, God makes no mistakes. We're being tested, but we'll rise." You could feel the grief in every word, raw, heavy, unmistakable. As of November 2nd, 2025, the case remains open. No arrests, no suspects officially named. LAPD's South Bureau Homicide Division has been working non-stop, pulling 12 surveillance videos from nearby stores, trying to piece together exactly what happened that Halloween night. The city is waiting for answers, but for now, what remains is sorrow and silence. Right after the news broke, LAPD announced a $50,000 reward through the citywide crime reward program, hoping someone would come forward with information to break this case open.
That's where everything turned dark. It showed the world just how twisted and toxic the internet can get when grief, conspiracy, and old beef crash into each other at the same time. Not even 2 hours after the first police scanner reports hit the web, around 11:45 p.m. on Halloween night, the internet started going wild. Every platform lit up like fireworks. The news of Jabari Henley's death didn't just stay in LA, it spread worldwide within minutes. And what came next? Chaos. A flood of posts, comments, and wild conspiracy theories drowned every feed. Some people showed zero compassion, disrespecting a young father whose life had been cut short. Others pushed insane narratives just to chase clout and attention. It became a full-blown online circus. Instead of messages of peace, unity, or justice, the tone turned dark, fast. People started talking about karma and divine payback, twisting a tragedy into gossip and hate. It was ugly, proof that sometimes the internet feeds off pain instead of helping heal it. Within 90 minutes of the first scanner leaks, the story had exploded and got tied to old rumors about Big U. Social media detectives started dragging up 6-year-old conspiracy theories claiming he had something to do with Nipsey Hussle's murder on March 31, 2019. It was like old wounds being ripped back open, 2019's pain colliding with 2025's fresh heartbreak. What should have been a moment of mourning turned into a digital battlefield. The internet didn't just talk about Jabari's death, it twisted it, magnified it, and used it as fuel for a wildfire that nobody could control. On X, formerly Twitter, things went into overdrive. Mentions of Big U's son jumped from 2,500 posts at midnight to nearly 20,000 by 6 a.m. on November 1st. Hashtags like Khan, Big U Henley, and Baby W were trending across Los Angeles and beyond. The speed was insane. This was the blueprint for how social media turns real-life tragedy into instant content, how speculation becomes fact, and how someone's deepest pain becomes timeline entertainment. Then TikTok got a hold of it, and it got even darker. Clips of paramedics performing CPR on Jabari started circulating, posted by faceless accounts hiding behind fake usernames. Those videos pulled over 3.2 million views by noon on November 1st. People weren't sharing empathy, they were chasing views. Over on Instagram, fan pages dedicated to Nipsey Hussle started reposting edited reels, mixing old Nipsey footage with captions throwing shade at Big U. The posts pushed slick accusations and racked up over 25 million impressions within hours. The algorithm was eating it up, boosting everything that stirred more emotion, more anger, more speculation. And just like that, the narrative that had been simmering for years finally exploded. The disrespect was everywhere, often disguised as talk about karma or Nipsey's spirit getting revenge from the grave. But when you looked closer, most of it came straight from the same old rumors that have followed Big U since 2019. Those conspiracy theories claim Big U vouched for Eric Holder Jr., the Rolling 60s member convicted in 2022 for killing Nipsey, or that Big U somehow profited off Nipsey's death through his music connections. But here's the truth. All of that had already been proven false during Holder's trial. Big U's name never appeared in the court transcripts, not once. Still, social media didn't care about facts. It cared about clicks. By sunrise, millions of people had heard, shared, and repeated the same false narrative, turning real grief into gossip and a family's trauma into viral content. You already know how it goes. Facts move slow, rumors sprint. And both in the streets and online, nobody waits for the truth anymore. Those same conspiracy theories that had been dismissed years ago came roaring back. Recycled clips, edited posts, and dramatic captions gave them new life. One of the biggest sparks came from a 2021 Charleston White interview that suddenly resurfaced on November 1st. The repost pulled over 11,000 likes and 500+ shares in just hours. In the clip, Charleston tossed out wild accusations suggesting Big U had something to do with Nipsey's passing, even though those claims were already debunked. But social media acted like it had just dropped yesterday. Then another clip resurfaced, an old Loose Cannon podcast rant from early 2025 recorded before he caught the RICO case. That clip blew up again, pulling in about 6,000 likes. In it, Cannon claimed Big U had Nipsey in some shady deal and let the snake get close. The irony? Cannon was the same person who later had to whisper to Big U in that jail cell that his son had been killed. People who knew the history didn't miss that. Then Brick Baby stepped in next. During a later interview, he shut the whole thing down, calling out the rumors as nothing but people chasing attention instead of telling the truth.
And to top it off, Whack 100's old Instagram Live from March 2025 resurfaced. In it, he talked about a supposed fight between Big U and Nipsey in 2017, claiming it led to Nipsey's brother, Black Sam, getting arrested. That single clip sparked a thread with over 50,000 engagements, pulling even more fuel into the fire. It was the perfect storm. Old drama, new spins, and non-stop speculation. The internet ran with it all over again. None of this was new. It was just the same stories dragged out of the dirt, repackaged, and thrown back into the spotlight at the worst possible moment, when a family was grieving. Old accusations, recycled rumors, and years-old interviews suddenly had new oxygen again. Not because new evidence surfaced, but because the algorithm feeds on drama. The wilder the claim, the faster it spreads. And the way social media moved in the first hours after the shooting showed exactly how quickly grief can turn poisonous when mixed with chaos and conspiracy. At 12:07 a.m. on November 1st, a shaky video from the crime scene started circulating with the caption, "Retaliation for Big U's alleged Nipsey setup, Street War never ends." It barely got 19 likes and 5 reposts, but that was enough to spark the conversation.
By 1:46 a.m., another clip surfaced of paramedics working on Jabari. The caption read, "Comments full of Nipsey's spirit and sins of the father. We've lost compassion. Death is entertainment now." That post cleared 95 likes, proof that at least a few people still recognize the madness happening. But by sunrise, the tone had flipped completely. Around 6:47 a.m., a tweet took off saying, "LA let Big U walk after killing your legend. Nip, trash city." That one blew up. 2,400 likes in just a few hours. The disrespect was unreal. Then came the viral hit. At 12:57 p.m., someone uploaded a YouTube video titled, "Proof Big U Killed Nipsey and Son's Best Friend. Breakdown." No proof, no facts, no receipts. Just speculation stitched together like a detective movie. But it didn't matter. It pulled 417,000 views before the day was over. It had officially become a digital wildfire. Rumors and pain spreading like gasoline across timelines, comments, and group chats. When analysts later tracked the data, the breakdown was clear. 8,000 plus posts about the situation on November 1st alone. 62% referenced Nipsey Hussle, most pushing narratives like #NipseyKarma and #NipseySpirit, which appeared over 4,000 times. Only 28% were neutral or genuinely offering condolences, and a tiny 10% actually condemned the mockery and cruelty. By the time platforms stepped in, the damage was already cemented. X on Twitter suspended 15 accounts for doxing. TikTok demonetized over 200 videos showing graphic footage. Instagram flagged 50+ reels under hate speech and misinformation rules. But none of that changed the deeper reality. This wasn't about facts. It wasn't about justice. It wasn't even about Jabari. It was about old, unhealed pain. People who were still grieving Nipsey Hussle projected that grief onto Big U, turning him into a permanent villain in their minds. Once the internet labels someone as the monster, every new tragedy becomes karma instead of a human loss. And that's where the real tragedy of this story lives. Not just in what happened in the streets, but in how the world reacted to it. So when tragedy struck his family, some people twisted it into a story about cosmic payback, like the universe was balancing the scales. It was cold, distorted, a way of looking at someone's pain with zero empathy. But thankfully, not everyone fit into that energy. People directly tied to Nipsey's legacy shut that down immediately. Through AllMoneyIn/RA Records official Instagram page, Black Sam, Nipsey's brother, posted on November 1st, "Pain multiplies pain. Honor Nip with peace, not this." It was short, it was steady, and it cut through the chaos like a blade, calling for compassion instead of vengeance. Voices across hip-hop spoke up too, calling out the disturbing lack of humanity online. They reminded everyone that grief is not entertainment, and no family deserves to have their heartbreak turned into viral content. And then came the people who actually knew Big U, not the internet's version of him. They stood up publicly, calling the accusations baseless, pointing out that this was a father mourning his child behind bars, unable to touch the outside air. It was loyalty, real loyalty, the kind that doesn't flinch when the world is loud. And here's the truth the internet kept ignoring. Eric Holder Jr., the man who actually killed Nipsey Hussle, was sentenced to 60 years to life in 2022. Throughout that entire trial, every testimony, every wiretap, every courtroom statement, Big U's name never appeared. Not once. Not in witness lists, not in text logs, not in evidence. Nothing.
As one legal analyst put it, if there was even a hint that Big U had ties to a murder-for-hire plot, prosecutors would have brought it forward during Coldest trial. They didn't, because it wasn't there. But while the truth was documented in public, the internet didn't care. And the online chaos didn't stay online. LAPD reported a 22% spike in anonymous tips to Crime Stoppers between November 1st and 2nd. Around 150 calls, all referencing old beefs and recycled street rumors. That's the dangerous cycle that showed itself in real time. Grief over Nip's death was being weaponized to turn another tragedy into war fuel.
Division kept breathing in a community still trying to heal from 2019. Worse, the viral noise started to interfere with the actual investigation into Jabari's killing. Detectives were working to get justice for a young father trying to live clean. But every new rumor online pulled attention away from the truth that mattered. To understand why this moment spiraled the way it did, why the internet was so ready to twist Jabari's death into something darker, we need to rewind and examine the real history between Nipsey Hussle and Big U. Because that's where the roots of this story truly start. Their history wasn't simple, and it definitely wasn't black and white. Over the years, the internet turned their relationship into some dramatic movie script. Hero versus villain, good versus evil, clean lines, no nuance. But the truth was deeper than that. What existed between them was brotherhood and business, loyalty and pride, and eventually distance. A real relationship, layered, human, and complicated. But social media doesn't like complicated. It likes extremes. So when pain and speculation collided online, their story got rewritten into something that never matched reality. To really understand the tragedy of Jabari Henley's death and why the reaction hit so hard, you have to separate rumor from reality, ego from evidence, and look directly at the human story underneath everything. The story of Nipsey Hussle and Eugene Big U Henley goes all the way back to the mid-2000s, when Big U had just come home on parole after being released from the California Department of Corrections in 2004. Once he was back, he focused on peace building, creating dialogue between rival C and Blood sets under the Community Intervention Alliance, which he officially founded in 2005. Around that time, a young Nipsey Hussle, barely 20, and already gaining a name in the rolling 60s, started showing up at those meetings around Crenshaw. Big U noticed something different about him. He said Nip was a new generation leader, someone who could connect the OGs with the younger crowd coming up behind him. There was real mutual respect, built on purpose, vision, and street credibility. By February 2009, their relationship turned into business. Nip signed a 10-year management deal with Big U's company, Unique Music Group. A standard agreement, 10% management fee, 25% publishing share. Years later in 2023, fans online called the deal predatory, even launching a petition criticizing it. But that was people judging a 2019 street-level contract through a 2023 lens. Back then, it was a legit structure that helped Nipsey stabilize and scale his career. Between 2009 and 2012, they were locked in tight, building business and community together. In 2010, they co-hosted a major event called Unity in the Community at Lemire Park, drawing over 800 people. Big U helped mediate peace efforts between the Rolling 60s and the Hoovers while Nipsey performed for the neighborhood. It was one of those rare moments where music and street diplomacy overlapped in a positive way. By 2012, they each put up $5,000 to support CIA youth programs. Nipsey told XXL magazine, "We bridge sets and save lives on my block." Big U said he made the music. It was mutual respect in motion. 2 generations, same mission, to shift the energy of South Central. Their partnership was real, and for a time it was powerful. Between 2016 and 2018, Big U and Nipsey reached their strongest era as a team through a community initiative called Block By, a series of local events and open panel discussions focused on real issues, gentrification, policing, and rebuilding neighborhoods. The series brought out over 4,000 people in total, proving just how much influence they had when they worked together for South Central. During this time, Big U wasn't just behind the scenes. He played a real role creatively too. He gave A&R input on Nipsey's Grammy-nominated album Victory Lap, even helping secure major collaborations, including Kendrick Lamar. It was a partnership where old school wisdom met new school vision, and it worked. By 2018, Nipsey showed his appreciation in a major way, donating $100,000 to Big U's Community Intervention Alliance. That move made it clear both men believed in giving back to South Central and building opportunities beyond music alone. As of November 2nd, 2025, the investigation into Jabari's murder is still ongoing. LAPD has reviewed 12 different surveillance angles and is now waiting on the full ballistics and toxicology reports, expected to be finalized by November 5th. 2 persons of interest from Inglewood were detained on November 1st, but released after their alibis checked out. What did stand out was forensic DNA recovered from the sedan's door handle, a partial match to someone associated with the Hoover set. Internal LAPD memos describe it as spillover retaliation. But let's be clear, this isn't the type of retaliation the internet has been screaming about. The real story points to neighborhood tension, not some viral conspiracy revenge plot. And when you step back, you start to see something much bigger. This tragedy reflects the world we live in now, where grief, justice, and truth are all filtered through the internet first. Real pain gets turned into trending hashtags. Rumors travel faster than facts. Someone's life, someone's death, becomes content. The Henley family, already crushed by Big U's federal case, has been dealing with this loss quietly. The RICO indictment led to their Hyde Park home and multiple family assets being frozen, turning the aftermath into something even heavier. There's no space to breathe, no space to grieve publicly, no space to be human. The memorial for Jabari is tentatively set for November 8th, kept small, private, just close family and friends. A chance to honor him in peace, away from the noise. Thank you for watching. If this story opened your eyes, make sure to like, share, and drop a comment below. Let's talk about how the internet should handle stories like this, with more heart and more truth. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss our next deep dive. Click one of the videos on your screen to continue watching more real stories like this.